Should you buy Supreme Darkness? We're gonna answer that question right here in this video. Welcome back to another Should You Buy video, and today we're talking about the next core set in the TCG coming in about 2 weeks, and it is Supreme Darkness. With brand new archetypes, legacy support for fan favorite archetypes, of course the continuation of the Sinful Spoil story, alongside many powerful staples you want to get your hands on today. And don't forget that if you are considering buying Supreme Darkness cases, boxes, or singles, make sure to head over to tier0games.com and use code GALZO5 at checkout for 5% and support the channel. Of course, the link is in the description of this video. And let's dive into it with the first archetype, and it is legacy support for Crystons. Crystons have been fan favorites in the past. Even though a pretty weak archetype, it did have one of the strongest monsters in the game, Crystron Halkifibrex, which was notoriously one of the strongest Link monsters ever, and is currently resting on the Forbidden and Limited list. And Crystron are getting another wave of support in Supreme Darkness. With Crystron Tristalis, which is a new tuner that special summons Crystrons from the deck, enables quick synchro plays on the opponent's turn, and extends via banishing itself. Crystron Sulphid Hole, which is a level 5, can revive itself, send Crystron cards to the graveyard, and locks you into machines. Crystron Ella Skeletals is a level 7 synchro that recovers Crystron cards, weakens the opponent's monsters, and has a great floating effect. The new spell, Crystron Inclusion, can search Crystrons from the deck and grants protection alongside reviving from the grave. And lastly, the Crystron Trap, Crystron Cluster, can shield Crystrons from banishing effects and offers targeted destruction via recycling materials. The new support provides the deck an actual strategy, accessing a lot of new synchro monsters and of course old ones, mainly in the level 7 and 9 categories, and of course being machine types and having access to level 5s actually grants the deck the ability to go into Cyber Dragon Infinity, which is a very strong Omni Negate. Next up, legacy support for one of the most successful and fan favorite archetypes, Gladiator Beasts. They were a menace back in the day, and these cards are no different. We got Glad Beast Magister that can special summon itself and another Gladiator Beast from the hand, adds a spell and trap on summon, and tags out after battle. We got the Test Bear, which is an extender that contributes itself to summon up to 2 Glad Beasts from the deck. We got Glad Beast Claudius, a fusion boss monster that grants an extra battle phase, which is huge, and summons Glad Beast during either turn. And of course, it's a contact fusion from the grave, absolutely busted. Glad Beast Darius, which is a Link 2 that summons a Glad Beast from the hand, graveyard, or deck and protects them in battle. And lastly, a new field spell, the Arena of the Gladiator Beasts, that can search, summon Glad Beasts, and of course set Glad Beast traps. Next up, one of the coolest archetypes of this set, which is Argo Stars. We've had a lot of support for continuous traps that can summon themselves as monsters, specifically of course with the trap boss, the Silhouette Rabbit, that can set any of these traps from the deck, and it is of course an illusion, and Argo Stars seems pretty promising. We got Glorious Audro, which is currently the only monster in the archetype in Supreme Darkness, that is the tutor. It sets 2 Argo Stars traps from the deck, and it can zero out a monster's attack to 0 and locks the opponent out of responding to traps. As for the traps, we got titled the Purple Lightning that boosts warrior monsters' attack and defense, becomes a 2000 attack monster when summoned, and searches for Argo Stars cards. And of course we have Capane, the Flying Swallow, that prevents Warrior from battle destruction, essentially protecting Audra on the field, can special summon itself of course, and gains life points when an Argo Stars is banished. And a new field spell, the Home Stadium, recovers Argo Stars cards, burns the opponent for trap summons, and negates effects when traps are activated. And of course we got another episode of the Sinful Spoils story. Honestly, it's getting kinda old, and especially now when the decks are so severely hit, and of course the original Sinful Spoils is now banned. This wave of support is actually extremely strong, but I'm wondering if it can actually compete with Ryziel and Malice. We got the new extremely strong Azamina Elzet of the White Forest that can facilitate fusion summons all on its own, can search for Sinful Spoils cards when sent to the graveyard, and can special summon itself or another Azamina or White Forest monster from the hand. We got the Sinful Spoils of the White Forest, finally the 2 stories connecting into one, with a quick play spell that special summons a monster or performs a fusion summon, resetting it when sent to the graveyard. We got Pray the Diabelle, and like the Diabelle, 2 origin story cards for Diabelle Star. Pray is a quick play spell that sends a monster to the graveyard and special summons a Diabelle monster by banishing spells and traps, and like the Diabelle is a quick play spell that sets spell or trap cards and special summons a Diabell monster from your graveyard. And I'm sure we haven't seen the final Diabell monster yet. And of course, Awakening of the Sinful Spoils, normal trap that returns up to 3 cards your opponent controls to the hand and can set itself from the graveyard. In addition to these brand new wave of support, we got returning support for evil heroes, which are obviously the cover cards of the set. We got Arcana Force, which is actually a coin flip archetype back from Light of Destruction. Even though these archetypes are not super competitive, I think a lot of fans will like these. Evil heroes are actually seeing some success with the new card, so a lot of hero fans are going to be excited. Next up, and this is extremely special, we got the Mitsurugi archetype, which is already revealed to be the TCG exclusive archetype. It's a new archetype that revolves around ritual dark reptile monsters, which has a lot of people really excited about. The cards have already been revealed and they look pretty cool. And it's left to be seen if this archetype with only 6 cards on release and nothing extremely special about it can actually carry momentum into the new format. And now we got some staples and some new support with one-off cards here and there, starting off with Primite, the normal summon engine and archetype that has made waves and honestly turned a few cards really expensive. Like, of course, the secret rare Primite Lordly Load. So we got a new dragon in Primite Barrel. It is a pivotal card for the new Blue Eyes strategy that is releasing in the new Blue Eyes Saga structure deck later this month. It can set Primite spells or traps from the deck on summon and contribute itself to send a normal monster from the deck to the graveyard. So if you're looking to play Blue Eyes, you need to pick up this card and of course the Primite engine. We got another wave of support for the Fiendsmiths, and hopefully this time is the last one because we've had enough. We got a new trap card that can fusion summon, but we also got a new final boss monster, hopefully Fiendsmith Rex Tremende. It requires a Fiendsmith fusion and a fusion or link monster to summon. It is unaffected by card effects while equipped with a Fiendsmith card, and when fusion summoned, can send a light fiend from deck or extra deck to the graveyard by discarding a card. And yeah, with the trap, you can make that fusion summon happen during the opponent's turn. However, this is probably not going to see a lot of play just because the engine is already so incredibly powerful. We got a new Mulcharmy card, adding to Mulcharmy Perulia and Mulcharmy Fualos. We got Mulcharmy Meows. Meow. And it is a cat Mulcharmy. I think it's an Earth Beast if I'm not mistaken. And this one, of course, covers the Banishment and Grave. Each time a monster or monsters are special summoned from the Banishment or Graveyard, immediately draw 1 card. So of course, this begs the question, do you actually play this? Of course, Malice is extremely susceptible to this, but wouldn't you rather just play Fualos? So this might be a unique tech card in some scenarios down the line in the future, but I'm not sure it's actually going to see as much play as Perulia and Fualos. Speaking of reptile ritual monsters with the Mitsurugi archetype, we got Liberator Edo. This is a very cool and weird card. It is a new huge reptile monster that can special summon itself from the hand or grave by paying half your life points while your opponent has a card on the field or in the graveyard with an effect that activates in the hand or field in response to a card activation. So when a card says when your opponent activates an effect, do this and that, like for example Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, or any Omni-Negate monster that specifically has the when clause in its effect, if it's on the field or in the opponent's graveyard, you can just summon Edo by paying half your life points. Not super complicated given the fact that everybody plays those cards all the time. However, don't mix it up with cards like Effect Veiler and Infinite Impermanence that can be activated whenever you want during the main phase or during the turn, which unlike cards like Ghost Ogre, Ghost Bell, and Ash Blossom, don't need to be activated in direct response to a card. So it's a little bit semantics over there. And when summoned, it basically turns into a huge towers during your turn only. Pretty interesting and creative. For the Ryziel fans, we have Twins of the Eclipse. It's a rank 4 that is kind of revolutionary, similar to what Gigantic Sprite did with Xyz monsters. It's a rank 4 that can finally use other rank 4s as level 4 monsters. If it is sent to the graveyard, you can target 2 other rank 4 or lower monsters in your graveyard, special summon one of them and attach the other one to it. So essentially you can summon it, link it off, and then revive your Ryziel Detonator from the grave with a material. And then when it's summoned, it can attach another one onto it. So this card is probably going to see a ton of play, specifically in Ryziel of course, but this is kind of like future-proofing rank 4s for an eternity. One of the most important cards in this set, Aku, the Lightless Shadow. Based around Asian myths, this new Link 4 Fiend monster requires 2+ monsters, including a Fiend. So it's not as generic as Promethean Princess, but also not as restricting. During the main phase, as a quick effect, a player can discard a card to activate one of these effects. Either destroy one card on the field without targeting, or banish the Lightless Shadow until the end phase to special summon a light or dark monster from the graveyard as a quick effect. In addition, during the standby phase, after it returns, you can also draw cards equal to the number of different monster types in your graveyard, then place the same amount of cards on the bottom of your deck. This card might seem a little bit unassuming. It was mostly used in the OCG to just FTK with Jaugen the Spiritualist that can be sent off of Cherubini and then revived with the Bawaku. But now Jaugen has been future-proofed, banned before the release of Supreme Darkness here in the TCG. So while there is not an immediate use for this card is just a generic staple in Interruption, and in a world where Fiendsmiths are everywhere and it's really easy to link up into Link 4s, this card is bound to see play in almost every deck as just a generic boss monster and draw power. So my tip to you, get this early. And lastly, the Snake Eyes Damned Dragon. Probably not going to be the name of the TCG, but this is another new boss monster for the Sinful Spoils archetype. You can contact fuse this card by sending 2 monsters in the spell and trap zone. And that's going to be really easy given you have cards like, of course, Snake Eye Poplar, but most importantly, the Fiendsmith engine then can pretty easily get those monsters in the spell and trap zones as equipped spells. Might be worth picking up as an extender to some pretty nasty combos I've seen, but this is probably not going to make a ton of waves. And this is Supreme Darkness. Should you buy it? Should you not? You decide, but if you decide you want to, make sure to check out tierzerogames.com/galzo5. Use code galzo5 at checkout for 5% off. I think this set is extremely exciting, and I'm going to be picking up some of these cards, of course, for the channel. And please, let me know in the comments if you are getting some of them too. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it. It really helps the algorithm spread this video to other people who want to see it. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.